And that means up next we have Method versus Splyce. That is right. It is Method that consists of Smexxin, Sidu, and Snuts. You know, Venrique's on the roster, but I don't believe he's going to be available to compete for us today. So it's just the two amigos with Smexxin, of course. Oh my gosh, the damage that warrior puts out is actually unbelievable. We see some slam dunks almost every game.
Wait, are you not counting Smexxin as an amigo?
No, he's the fourth amigo, dude.
Yeah, but you just said they only have 2 amigos.
Okay, two OG amigos. How about that? Is that better?
2
But
original amigos.
I think Smexxin is
So
definitely
he's an immigrant.
I think
Smexxin's the immigrant.
Has Smexxin advanced to amigo status?
I really do. I think Smexxin, I'm not, I don't have the power to, make him amigo. Only the amigos can do that, but I really think he's earned his spot on the amigo roster because he's been doing so well. The WLS for Method, doing that in like that 9-0, in a row in tournament number 4 was insane. These guys are crazy, but they're gonna be going up against Splyce, and we've seen some amazing runs out of Splyce as well with their Feral Lock Shaman, as well as Jelly Beans on the Hunter for their Jungle Cleave, and that's going to be the next series, guys, between these two. And but before we get those teams ready, I just wanted to have a quick shout out. We've been getting so many resubs that it's actually really hard for me to keep up with, so I'm just going to quickly shout out all the new subs and resubs real quick. Shout out to Pauline, our good friend Pauline, for subbing for 3 months in a row, Toxic for 3 months in a row, Zerk Swag for 2 months, Clutter for GCD Clutter for 3 months. And we actually did get a new sub. Jengus is our new subscriber as well. We're at 234 subs out of our 300 sub goal. Oh my gosh, actually that's not the whole list. It keeps going. All right, just a minute. Walter Bear for 3 months in a row. Thank you so much. Superwins has subscribed. Thank you, Superwins, for the Thrall for 9 months in a row for the Thrall. That's unbelievable. Bean Slayer BSX for 3 months in a row. The one and only Super Tease for 3 months as well. Death Parrot has resubscribed for 3 months. Rune 284 has subscribed for 12 months in a row. That's actually insane. Thank you so much, Rune. And Absterge has subscribed for 11 months in a row. Chase Heals as well for 2 months. And we just got a new subscriber. It's Grimorn. Grimorn, thank you so much, man, for that new sub. I really do appreciate your support to the dream. Oh my gosh. Pleb Central has subscribed. Shout out to him and all of his content as well. Big fan of you, Pleb Central. Thank you for the support, bro. All right, we got that out of the way. It's time to get back into the games. Before we do that, I did get a moment to sit down with both of these teams and talk to them briefly. And let's take a quick look at what Absterge from Team Splyce had to say.
My name is Absterge, and I'm the Resto Shaman for Team Splyce. I'd say my team does pretty well, mainly because we're all synergized with each other for the most part, since we've played a lot together now. Wallabear, Jellybeans, and myself have been playing together for over a year, I'd say, and Wallabear, Dota, and myself have been playing together for pretty much all of WAD, I think. We played a bit, mostly in Wild season, so we've been playing together for a while now too. I'm pretty confident we'll win the whole tourney. I think my team's probably just gonna smoke everyone out since we've learned to beat everything now. Out of all the teams in the tourney, I think we're mainly afraid of fighting the Windwalker DK teams, but I'm not really afraid of Donut anymore. They're just monkeys. I would probably like to knock out Team Donut because, like I said, they're monkeys, and I don't really want to have everyone else play them either. Out of all the players in the tourney, I'd say I probably have the most respect for Sidu. I think he's proven in a lot of tourneys that he's always coming to play. I'm really looking forward to trying to take out Tempo Storm, mainly so we can just shut Jamili up. He just talks too much recently. I think our matchup against Method is going to go by pretty quick. All our games should be fast, and I think we'll take them out pretty easily. I just think my team right now is probably the best. I think my team, out of all the teams, has shown that we adapt and we don't just re-roll to other comps and play bottom like everyone else does. So I think we've just shown that we adapt with our one comp, and we're strong with that.
All right, that was the one, the only Absterge, and we're going to be showing you guys what Sidu from Team Method said.
Hi, I'm Sidu, and I play Resto Shaman for Method. I think my team is successful because Snuts and I just have a lot of tournament experience, so we really know how to prepare. And I think Smexxin's just overall amazing. Without him, I definitely think the team is just not what it should be. And Ven's not on this one, but he also brings another element of just a lot of experience, and all that experience really adds up in a tournament. You know which comp you want to play. You kind of get like in a good mindset for certain matches, and even if you're behind, we were down a series, I think 2-1. You just stay in the right mindset and just tell yourself you can do it, and it's never over till it's over. We actually haven't been playing with each other that long in terms of me, Snuts, and Smexxin. Me, Ven, and Snuts have been playing since last year. We got to the 2014 BlizzCon, but me, Snuts, and Smexxin have probably been the product of maybe like 2 months of practice. But I have a lot of experience playing with Smexxin this expansion. My most successful teams have been with Smexxin actually. I've been over 3K rated with Smexxin and Channels. I think I won a GCD like 18 or 19 with Smexxin and Channels. So we really knew what we wanted to do with the comp, and we just had to figure out, who we wanted to play with. We had to pick up a Warlock who could synergize really well and who had really good communication. And Snuts fit that role really, really easily. And with no problem, we had Ven come on the roster. And I think overall we have a pretty good team. So we'll see what we can do this week. No teams. I mean, there's no teams I personally have a vendetta against. I don't really dislike anyone or hate anyone. I know everyone probably thinks there's bad blood between John and I. I think it's more of like a shaman type deal. Just doesn't really respect my class. But you have to respect him as a player, all in all. He's a good mage. Knocking him out it'd feel good just because he's good. The shaman envy between Absterge and I, both what I would consider top shamans. He's a really good player. Knocking him out would make me look good, I guess. But in reality, at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean as much as people think. But I guess it would feel good beating another Resto shaman. But in the same sense, it feels bad if you lose to him. But other than that, I mean, no, I don't really have any vendettas. I just enjoy playing in GCDs. I think it's great what you guys do for esports, and just trying to go out there, do our best, and make WoW look good, I guess. There's so many players that I have, so much respect for as players, and the things that they've been able to do this expansion. So many players just coming out of nowhere. Asper Magid and Floria came out of nowhere this expansion. They've won a ton of GCDs. They have crazy coordination. They're beating the top players. Tempo Storm. I haven't really heard too much of Gurecki till this expansion, and the kid's rank 1 on every single class that he touches. It's like magic. Absterge, I know he was, pretty big outside of tournaments last expansion. Maybe wasn't as well known, and he comes in this expansion, one of the only shamans to get to BlizzCon. And so many players on so many different levels are just playing at like the absolute top of the game, and it's really, really good to see that people are still out here trying to compete in WoW esports, and it's really, really good to have the competitive scene to keep these kind of players active and relevant. So shout out to GCD for that one. But a lot of top players in this tournament, and just really excited to be a part of it. Out of all the teams that are in the tournament, I think there's actually quite a few that I'm most worried to face. Even in our first round, I think Absterge's team is probably one of the most difficult. I think FOS has the comp advantage over WS, and I think Jungle has a comp advantage over WS. So those guys are really good players, and I think it's going to be really, really hard to beat them if they're playing their top game. And also the new Tempo Storm roster, just, oh man, the amount of comps that those guys can play, it's just unimaginable. I have no idea what they can run into us. I don't know if they're going to RMD. I don't know if they're going to LSD. I don't know if they're going to God comp. They just have so many rosters available to them that it's kind of a mystery to us at this point. So we don't really know what to expect, which makes it really difficult to practice for. Jeff's team, we kind of, snuck out a free win with Major Lock Pally, and without Ven here this week, I think it's going to be really difficult too. So, I mean, we really got our work cut out for us. If we win this tournament, I'd be very, very pleased. But there's a lot of good teams in here. It's NA's finest. So we're just gonna go out there and just do our best and hope we can win. I think the series with Splyce in the first round will probably be a 3-2. They have 2 comps they could throw at us, which means they could go for certain comps on specific maps. Just say, for example, if we play FOS versus WS the first round and we win, that means, round 2, they're going to go with Ruins of Lordaeron, maybe Jungle Cleave, and just go straight for the Warlock on that map or straight for the Shaman on that map. So I think the maps are going to make it a really, really tight series at 3-2 where they pick, the better comp for that map. And we just have to be really on our point, or really on game. I think if we lose in a Grand, we're in a really, really rough spot. It happened to us last time, but I think overall it's probably going to be a 3-2 series. I think we are going to see some lock v lock this time. We didn't see it last time, but I think Dota's been playing a lot more, and I think we're definitely going to see a lot of FOS versus WS, which is kind of unfortunate because the games are going to be pretty long, but they should be exciting nonetheless.
All right, there you have it. That is what Sidu had to say. And we're going to be jumping into those games here very soon. I'm sorry that did take a while, but I couldn't figure out what to cut. The interview was so good. Sidu just had so much good stuff to say. It was almost like he had a couple interviews in the past or something. But yeah, so that is what Chuck had to say. He's probably not feeling super confident now that he is just that 4-player roster, or that 3-player roster instead. But these guys have shown the power of that main composition that they have, and they're just going to go out there and do their best. And I can't wait to see what that is, because they are going up against a super hard opponent here, Splyce. Absterge, his confidence was showing. He said that he thought that they were going to 3-0 Method. And I don't know if that's a troll or if that's serious, but 3-0ing Method would be, I think, a pretty big feat of strength.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Method, these guys have shown over and over and over again in the past that they are extremely strong, and even with Venruki, I think he's actually at PAX at the moment, but even with Venruki off the roster for the time being, Smexxin, Sidu, Snuts, these are names that you should know if you're watching this broadcast, even if you've never seen a GCD before, which A, what's wrong with you, but B, you should still know these names. But going up against Splyce, like Absterge, he is a ridiculously good shaman. I am such an Absterge fan. I'm really excited to see. I hope that they don't multi-class a little bit too much. I know that Sidu, he plays Druid, he plays Paladin, but I kind of want to see the Shaman versus Shaman, and I kind of think we probably will with the comps that they have available. Walter Bear is incredibly strong as that Feral Druid. Jelly Beans has been known for quite a while to be an extremely strong hunter. And then Dota, the Warlock, as well. Just these are also names that, if you're paying attention, you know these guys very well. So these two teams going up against each other, this is a pretty epic matchup we're about to see.
Oh, it is. The queue did bug, so let's just give it a hot minute before jumping into the game, and as it interrupts me, as it pops, I'm just going to jump into the game. And the first map is the Grand Arena, of course. Ooh, we do see a Jelly Beans enter the arena. Jelly Beans has entered the arena.
Yeah, with Venruki MIA at max, the Splyce can pretty safely assume that Method is only going to play WLS, and we can see Jellybeans playing Beastmaster. He wants to get as much of an advantage as possible. Beastmaster does a lot of damage to Warlocks. It puts a lot of pressure on them. It also allows Jellybeans to run away with his pet still doing damage. So smart choice from Splyce, playing into the advantages that they have here. They did, however, lose with Jungle Cleave versus Method, and I believe the past 2 GCDs to Method, the one that Method ended up winning the entire thing.
Yeah,
so
tournament number
Splyce
4,
could
you're
fall
right.
Short. Splyce could fall short, but I would say they are advantaged here, and they do not want a repeat of last time. So I'm sure they're going to be playing on their A game here in this first round on the Grand Arena.
Yeah, these teams, like, even though I do think Splyce kind of has a comp advantage here up against the WLS of Method, like, Method, they're one of those teams that they play the comp so incredibly well that you kind of can't really count on a comp advantage to be able to get you the win. So we'll have to see how this matchup starts to unfold here, as it looks like Jelly Beans and Walter Bear starting to kind of want to move in here. Jelly's kind of trying to look for an angle over here. Does have his T-Rex over there named Saphosaurus, which is important, over in there doing a little bit of damage. But nothing too major just yet. Neither team really willing to push out. As I say that, Smexxin leaps over onto Absterge, gets that full Howl of Terror, or excuse me, I forget the name of that ability. I'm so bad at ability names today. Fear. It was a fear. He got Intimidating Shout. There we go. He got that over there. Now the stun onto him as well. Absterge just holding onto that trinket for ages. Now gets the Hex onto him, and that's going to get dispelled or something. I don't actually know how that broke exactly. Was it Walter? Yeah, okay, good. I haven't completely lost my mind, apparently. And Splyce actually looking like they're taking a whole lot of damage here, but they haven't actually had to use much in the way of defensive cooldowns. As I say that, Snuts in a lot of trouble over here, dipping super low, but still no major cooldowns coming out. Sidu caught him that maim there for just a second. He's going to have to go ahead and drop his first Spirit Link, and that's really the first major cooldown we've seen come out of anybody.
Yeah, Sidu actually used his Aura Mastery there as well, and Walter was able to stun him on it, and really Sidu couldn't capitalize on it at all. We can see a clone actually reflected back onto Walter. Really well done from Smexxin. Going to slow down some of the damage here, as we can see Jellybeans in full retreat. He's building up stacks by sending his pet in, so every time his pet auto-attacks, he has a chance to build a stack, and as soon as he reaches 5, he's going to pop all 5 stacks and go for a barrage one-shot. And let's see if he can get to that point here. Walter is leaping in over onto Snuts, getting full bleeds, looking for a stun onto Sidu. Jellybeans crossing the map, looking to land the trap. He snags the trap. Now this could be the murder of crows out from Jellybeans. We see him popping it. Absterge is rotting down significantly, though. There's the barrage one-shot out from Jellybeans onto Snuts. Smexxin's going to safeguard him to reduce some of that damage, using the Dark Regeneration now as well to heal it back up, but he's still dipping low. Rallying Cry forced out. Sidu forced to use his final link as well. He still has Ascendance. He still has Trinket to rotate through, but it's not looking good for Method right now. Absterge still with his Trinket and Link. Walter in the center of the map looking to try and leap in as Jellybeans kind of gets clotheslined, pushed a little bit too far, overextended here. Absterge able to heal him back up, though, trying to keep this pressure on Snuts. Incarnation out from Walter. Jelly lands the full trap. Sidu's going to Trinket right away. He knows how dire the situation could be. He wants to stay ahead of the damage. Snuts is going to gate. He's trying to kite. I think he still has his portal to try and pull back here. Absterge caught in a fear on his Aura Mastery. Really well done from Smexxin. Walter doing a good job to peel, though, with the rest of his Incarnation. He's just stunning up Snuts, stunning up Smexxin, slowing down the damage, because Jellybeans is taking quite a lot of damage at the moment as he's at half HP. Absterge no longer crowd controlled, should be able to pick him up. He's still got 2 more links. Maybe he just wants to trade one. I feel like they've got the kill here in the bag. Sidu with no Trinket, caught into that stun. Can Jellybeans land the trap? He lands the trap. This should easily be the game. Snuts is trying to shut it down with a Shadow Fury, but Walter's going to get out. He's going to kick him on his cast. Snuts could easily go down. They chain it into the clone. Snuts getting bursted down to that barrage combo from Jellybeans, and Splyce are going to take game number 1. As I kind of would expect with the compositions here. Method not able to find their stride. I think they played well with their cooldowns. They just rotated through, but Splyce was able to stay ahead and in their face, and Snuts is just eventually going to go down.
Yeah, Method was doing a great job of just surviving through the ridiculous amount of pressure that was coming out on them for as long as they did. And I feel like there were a few opportunities that they could have maybe made something happen, but what was constantly happening is as soon as those opportunities show up, Splyce was just making sure that they were getting any sort of CC they could to shut it down. As soon as Smexxin saw an opportunity and popped his avatar, immediately he was put into a full cyclone that he had no way to get out of and keep that pressure going. So very well played from Splyce. Even with the comp advantage, just doing very well to play that comp to its fullest and giving themselves this first victory here on the Grand Arena.
Yeah, I mean, they were in their face for so long, and you know they just kept that momentum. And looking at the defensive cooldowns at the end of that for Absterge specifically, it looked like Splyce was feeling pretty good about that series. You know, couldn't have gone much better for them.
I think that Shadow Fury at the end, like, I mean, you could, like, pick out the smallest little details, really, but I think Snuts ended up Shadow Furying before the barrage, but after the trap. Usually you want to try and stun the Hunter to prevent him from landing his trap, or try and make it a little bit more difficult to do, or you want to try and save your stun to break up the barrage, because Jellybean smartly went for the Murder of Crows and waited. He didn't go for the barrage right away. Usually we see like BM Hunters are a little bit too quick to the trigger. They'll pull both of those right off the bat, and then Snuts can easily Shadow Fury him on it. So Jellybeans played really patiently, waited to use the barrage after the Shadow Fury, and after Walter locked him out on the fear, so he wasn't able to stop it, and he got his barrage off. So it's really important for Jellybeans to get off that combination, and because he was able to get it off, he was able to take him down very quickly.
The mind games, man. The Shadow Fury barrage mind games are real, but it's a really big deal though. Like if he gets a stop on those barrages pretty consistently, Snuts very well could just line of sight with that Warlock sprint and survive through those setups, which is or at least hold on to defensive cooldowns. And as you do that more and more, we've seen this WLS in the past bring the game out longer and just kind of like overrun with consistent pressure their opponent. But Splyce is not having it today, it would seem. That being said, Method does have now their map choice as well as their composition advantage if they so choose to utilize it, being the loser of game number 1. And I have a feeling we're going to see WLS again, but what map choice do you think Method is looking at picking?
I mean, they don't have to play WLS. I know Snuts has actually been practicing Warrior Mage Shaman with Iconicus and Hamshem, and he's like almost 2700 with it. Like, he's pretty proficient with the comp, and I actually think it would do very well against Jungle if they wanted to play that instead and get Snuts on Mage to try and get an advantage with that. Obviously, they're most practiced with WLS, but I feel like Snuts has been practicing his Mage quite a bit, and it could maybe be worthwhile for them to have him go in on it.
Yeah, I mean, Snuts playing multiple classes is actually a huge deal. He's so good at multi-classing, and I would really like to see Method utilize that in their roster to their fullest in that scenario. But at the same time, even though Snuts might be kind of like familiar with it, Smexxin and Sidu might not be as familiar with the matchup specifically. So I don't know, it's definitely a risk, but after watching game number 1, I think it might be a risk that Method needs to take.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering so I'm not as familiar with WLS. What is it that makes the shaman so important as the healer in that composition? Because I know Sidu plays a lot of druid, and intuitively I kind of feel like maybe the shorter cooldowns could help a little bit more against Splyce's comp here, but I'm
Druids
aware
are-
enough to
Druids
understand
hate
that the
jungle.
shaman's probably really important.
Druids hate jungle. Like if I see jungle, unless I'm playing with a rogue and a mage that can stun lock them down quite a lot, I'm terrified of it. So I don't think we'd see Sidu's druid. I think maybe if you were gonna see Sidu switch healer classes,
Maybe Paladin.
maybe Paladin.
Be paladin.
In blessing of protect, especially because he knows Jellybeans is gonna be playing BM. Like as soon as they see him lock in BM jungle, Holy Paladin is the #1 counter to BM. So it could be smart for Sidu to change classes as well. So I kind of want to see Snuts or Sidu adapt to that if they know that they're fighting Beast Mastery jungle. That being said, that doesn't mean Absterge has to pick that. They could pick FLS.
Yeah,
They say
mind games are
lock
real,
shaman.
man.
And then Sidu's team is like, okay, I guess we have to play WLS again. Let's just outlock Shaman them. But still, I feel FLS is kind of advantaged against WLS. So
Yes, I agree.
either way, I think Sidu is kind of disadvantaged no matter what happens. But I would like to see if they can counteract the jungle, they should try and counteract the jungle.
Yeah, so just to add a little bit of context to you new viewers, if you're new to GCD TV, the way that the format works is that on the very first game, which is always in the Grand Arena, a very balanced map, both these teams kind of lock in their blind compositions, so they don't know what the other team is going to be playing. And then going into game number 2, if you lost that first series, you actually get to know what composition you're playing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the winning team has to play the composition they played in game number 1. They could swap it up. Like Absterge very well could go to Feral Lock Shaman if he feels like that's like a more universal composition to deal with the other tools that Method have in their arsenal, you know, like an all-around better choice if he knows that the losing team is going to have that comp advantage. And I mean, we've seen players adapt to that, so even though it's back and forth and you see like those different compositions, teams have also been adapting to that and, you know, throwing out some curveballs. Like my favorite so far is seeing We Back playing a Rogue Boomkin like Resto Shaman. Like they're like, all right, well, you know what comp we're going to be playing and you have the counters to it, so we're just going to throw a comp at you that you're not familiar with and see how you deal with it. And, you know, it's that sort of adaptation that I just absolutely love seeing, and you only see that out of the very best players. And, you know, Method's taking their time there. They really want to think it out and figure out what it is that they need to do against that jungle. And I think this is really smart, especially after that first game against that jungle. You know, the jungle looked so very strong against the WLS, and they probably just don't want to deal with that again. Looks like we did get a map choice, though. We're going to Ruins of Lordaeron, so that's the map choice that's coming out from Method. So me and Supa, we used to joke about this map. We used to call it Ruins of Hunteron. And, and you know, so they're anticipating a jungle cleave on like Ruins of Lordaeron. Doesn't sound like...
That's actually so smart, dude.
Oh, explain, man. I want to know.
Map. It's so smart to pick the map that Hunter is advantaged on, because that makes them know, like, okay, that we can make him want to pick Hunter.
Oh, wow.
And then try and counter him with maybe like Paladin or something like that. Even Paladin and Mage, like Warrior Mage Paladin, probably just trashes jungle. Like I honestly would think that it would literally walk all over it with Paladin Mage.
Yeah, if I'm Method right now, I'm just
the mind game levels are like...
Dude, if I'm Method right now, I'll just be like, Suity, shut up. What are you doing, man? No, but for real, regardless, Runes of Lordaeron is definitely a big deal.
They didn't fall for it.
Oh, right.
They didn't, but
FLS.
that's also what's so smart about this, though, is then you say, yeah, pick Hunter, see what happens. And so now Splyce goes, oh, we better not pick Hunter because they're trying to get us to pick Hunter by picking... Seriously, this is like layers upon layers here.
Oh, and now they don't get runes with Hunter. Like now, Absterge's team can never pick runes and get advantage with Hunter.
Yeah.
That's also a really good point. It's going to get it out of the way. But I don't know, you know, losing on your map choice, though, is actually going to be a big deal. Like, losing on your map choice, this is FLS versus WLS. Oh, it's not WLS. Should we just leave it? Should we just,
Wait,
you know...
what?
I feel like...
Does that actually do good? Against this? Maybe it does, actually. I saw Sidu...
No, I want it to be a surprise. I want it to be a surprise. I want to play the intro and everything and make all these guys wait.
Okay, whatever. Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Are you ready?
That's a super tease.
That's a super tease. Oh, that is a super tease.
We're not friends anymore.
No?
All right, guys. Super, you may now let them know what it is they're playing. It's a mage. Snuts is on his mage.
And you know what's interesting about this is it destroys warlocks and it destroys resto shamans. It's a comp that like you don't see it very often. I think, oh, what is this? Like, is that even good? Like, but it actually just Fury Warrior Burst and Mage Burst combined is so high that you can almost just kill in a deep freeze. You don't even need to chain the CC together. You just go with just deep sometimes, or you make swaps onto healers because they're not really expecting Warrior Mage to go on them, but it does a ton of damage. And I'm wondering if Method can get an advantage here. I mean, regardless, they get to get through Runes of Lordaeron without having to deal with Jelly Beans on it. If they can win with the Warrior Mage Shaman, maybe this is the comp that they need to play overall against Splyce, even both compositions. I think it's a smart decision for Method to change it up instead of running that WLS constantly into the wall that is Splyce. If Splyce playing the game, it's going to be really hard. Let's see how it works out. The gates have opened. Let's see if Snuts can continue that CC or if they're just going to go after Absterge. Absterge is very far forward right now. They could go onto what they want. It seems like Dota is going to be the target for now as Smexxin charges over. Snuts is blazing speeding. He's looking for the deep. They're making a swap, though. The Comet Storm over onto Absterge. Do they have any more damage to follow it up? Smexxin's going to pop that Recklessness. Absterge is going to gate away as Sidu was chucking out some Lava Burst. Absterge is going to escape through that initial assault, dealing with the Recklessness and Icy Veins very well, and Splyce are going to get ahead because of it.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the gate available for quite some time now, so that does give them the opportunity to try and make a similar setup once again in another few seconds here. They'll have the opportunity. Sidu now, though, caught into that Mighty Bash, getting down to about 50% health. Snuts thrown into that that Hex as well, going to limit any damage. There's going to be that Spirit Link out from Sidu there to be able to make sure that he stays alive through this. It's a fairly heavy amount of pressure coming out from Splyce. They recognize now is our opportunity. We have to turn this back around and make sure that Method knows that they can't get too aggressive here, but Smexxin going ahead to pop that Avatar, trying to make some damage happen here. Does manage to get that full fear onto both Walter Bear and Absterge. Absterge going to sit the whole way through it there. Now swapping over onto Walter Bear. He's actually taking quite a bit of damage here. Does manage to hold onto both of his survival instincts, but that was a pretty scary little chunk there. Now Walter Bear moving over onto Sidu. Sidu in a lot of trouble, down to 30%. Going to have to use his last remaining Spirit Link, and this is now going horribly for Method. It's turned right back around. Splyce recognizes, you know what, we've got the opportunity here. We can just make this happen right now.
Oh my god, Sidu got locked on his heel on his Ascendance. This is terrible for Sidu right now. He's fully dotted. His entire team rotting down. There's no way he survives. He dispels the dots, but ends up killing himself with the UA dispel. And that lockout on Sidu's heel with the Ascendance is going to take the game on Runes of Lordaeron. Really well done from Splyce, adapting to it, not getting caught off guard whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this composition coming out from Method. You see the Fury, you see the Mage, and you just anticipate a huge amount of burst, and Splyce was just on top of it, you know, really trying to prevent that burst from coming in, and there you have it. They're just getting link after link after link on those swaps over onto Sidu, you know, forcing Smexxin and Snuts to pull back, and that lockout just really was the last nail in the coffin there for Team Method, and Splyce now has a 2-0 advantage.
The thing is, his team would have topped off, and it was looking grim, but Incarn was over, Dark Soul was over. And at that point, Feral Lock Shaman's pressure just disappears. So if Dota wasn't able to lock Sidu out, his entire team literally would have been at full HP. It would have been a completely different situation. So it was good on Dota to just be in position, ready to stop that. He knew the recovery mechanics. I don't know if Sidu had Aura Mastery to pair with his Ascendance there, but if he did, I'm sure he would have used it. Because his entire team would have topped off. I'm telling you, that would have reversed completely around if he was able to get the cast off.
Yeah. All right. So, do you think that they're going to try it again, though? Or do you think that they're going to bring out the Warrior Mage again here?
I think this still kind of, like, this sort of falls back on something that that you mentioned before before that game actually started, which means that sure, they've pulled out. They've pulled Ruins out of the map rotation now, and because because it is a best of game. Because it is a best of 5, they're now able to say, okay, we can win on the remaining maps because the remaining maps aren't as tough as Runes of Lordaeron is going to be for them. They had the opportunity maybe to sort of get themselves a victory there by being able to say you cannot play jungle on Runes of Lordaeron. Didn't work out for them, but they do still have the sort of fallback in that now Runes of Lordaeron is out of the map pool, and they can move on. And from here, the remaining maps, I guess like Sewers is probably the one that's going to give the most of an advantage towards Splyce and the comps that they want to play. But otherwise, like maps like Tolvaron, like Tiger's Peak, even Blade's Edge to a degree, are going to work out a little bit. I feel like they lean a little bit more towards Method overall. So I actually do think that it's going to be a tough road, but I do actually think that Method has the ability to bring this back 3-0 and actually come back in this series.
All right. Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. Ruins Lordaeron, getting that out of the way is a big deal, especially with Jungle being such a nuisance. But taking a quick look at the choices that Method's actually... Method is going to lock in Tolvaron Arena for their next map choice. And right away, Splyce is just going to put in the FLS. They're going to lock in the FLS for Tolvaron Arena. So looking at that composition, are they going to stick with the Warrior mains, or are they going to go back to, Lock Shaman it up? I don't know. I mean, it's tough.
This map is weird. I mean, I would like them to just play Lock Shaman. I don't know if Snut specifically has the synergy with Smexxin and Sidu to play that composition. I think maybe like that deep freeze swap onto Absterge wasn't maybe communicated 100%, and like Snuts was more like trying to go on a one-man mission, and then Smexxin tried to capitalize on it a little bit too late, so he didn't really get all of his recklessness off with the stun. So I'm wondering if maybe they just decide to go back to a Lock Shaman mirror, and yeah, that's what they are going to do.
All right, so it's going to be FLS versus WLS, the Warrior for Smexxin. He's going to go back to Arms, and Walter Bear on that Feral Druid is going to be teaming up with Dota in Absterge for Team Splyce here. But, they do feel that the Feral Lock Shaman has still a slight advantage over the Warrior Lock Shaman in this matchup. But at the same time, we have seen time and time again that Smexxin can just deal the damage when it is necessary to get his team some Ws. And it wouldn't be the first time that Method has, overcome, a slight counter here at GCD TV. But they're going to have to do it 3 times. They're going to have to win 3 games in a row if they want to take down Splyce here in the first round of Group B.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely a very rough battle ahead for Method here. But we'll see. I want to see a super close series, so I'm definitely kind of pulling for Method here. See if they can bring out this W here and move a little bit forward with Smexxin on the W versus Walter Bear on the F. It's F versus I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. Anyway, World of Warcraft, there's a match happening. Smexxin's running across over here. Does manage to get hit by a couple of dots there from Dota. He's just going to charge over and start putting some damage in. Walter Bear's going to come out and start fighting against that, but there's a very nice Shadow Fury there from Snuts to shut that down. Make sure that Smexxin was never in too much trouble. Sidu did get caught into a bash there for just a second, but it didn't look like Splyce was able to make too much happen off the back of that. Snuts now caught into a Cyclone. They're just trying to shut down his pressure as much as they can, cycloning him on that Demon Soul, but Dota has his own Demon Soul active, but still taking actually quite a bit of damage, and now Smexxin moving over to put a quick stun on Absterge might actually be able to force something out here all on his own, while Snuts is still way in the back over there just dealing with Walter Bear. They're actually doing a great job of splitting Splyce up at the moment and making it very difficult for Absterge to deal with all the damage they're putting out.
Yeah, Absterge caught into the Stormbolt. Smexxin to look up to build up some momentum here. Looks like he's just targeting Dota, now charging over to Absterge, connecting a full fear out of it as well. Colossus smashes up onto Dota. He could take a lot of damage. I'm surprised that he's not portaling away. He's boldly just staying forward. Sidu caught into that stun. Incarnation out from Walter here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dota use his Dark Soul and keep this momentum rolling. He's trying to get full dots before he does it. Sidu's going to Ore Master. He's going to Ascendance. And now because Dota played it patient with his Dark Soul, he's going to be able to capitalize on it later. But they're setting up on a Walter with a Stormbolt over onto Absterge. Walter down to 30% HP. Smexxin just immediately leaping over onto Dota, trying to make sure that he doesn't cast here. He knows that Dota has a Dark Soul available. He wants to make sure he doesn't free cast. Oh, a Capacitor out from Sidu onto Walter is going to get dispelled, though, by Absterge. Here's the Dark Soul out from Dota. He was waiting for that Ascendance. Now that it's over from Sidu, Sidu's going to have a hard time dealing with this damage. Everyone's rotting down. He's trying to dispel the dots. Snuts is below half. Smexxin's slowly going to follow that up as well. There's the Stormbolt over onto Absterge. They're trying to burst Dota down, but everyone is rotting on Method. Dota is doing such an immense amount of pressure at the moment here. Dota's still pushing in, staying right in the face. Snuts gets locked out. He's not going to be able to stop this counter pressure. Sidu goes into the full stun. This could be the Trinket Link, but everyone is low. It wouldn't do a single thing. How is Sidu going to recover from the situation? Rallying Cry. Link gets dropped. Doesn't do anything. Smexxin falls to the pressure, and Splyce completely dominate Method with damage.
Oh, man. Oh man, that was a crazy game. You know, Dota really holding on to those Demon Souls for after the Ascendance coming out from Sidu definitely was a smart move coming out from Splyce, and they just weren't able to deal with it. They weren't able to deal with the pressure that Splyce was putting out, and that's going to be a quick 3-0 victory for Splyce going up against Method. And you know, Absterge, I guess his confidence in that 3-0 scenario paid off, because that's exactly what happened. Splyce taking the series 3-0 against Method, dropping him down to that lower bracket.
I really think Walter had a big factor with slowing down Snuts' damage. I think he got a clone on both of Snuts' Dark Souls and really just took him out of the game. Even the clone at the end prevented Snuts from getting into the link. So Walter really the MVP, controlling Snuts and preventing him from getting damage out, giving Walter time to or giving Absterge time to dispel Snuts' dots, which is why Dota's damage ended up being so much higher. And Dota played really smart, saving his Dark Soul for after the Ascendance from Sidu. So the Incarnation forced Sidu to pop Ascendance. Dota didn't want to overlap because Ascendance is a very powerful cooldown for Sidu to recover, and it would easily deal with Dota's Dark Soul. So they played that out very smartly with their cooldowns and built a lot of pressure and had good control on Snuts. So Splyce played very well in game number 3, and that's why they're able to take it so easily.
They're looking strong, man. They're looking so strong. Let's take a quick look at the bracket. So